Saturday View with Ronan Berry. With thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcloonEnergy.com. Call 0818 300 103. Text or WhatsApp your Saturday View to 083 3010 103.
Well, a very good morning to you on this Saturday morning. It's the 25th of January and you're listening to me, Sally Ann Barrett, here with you, standing in for Ronan on the Saturday View this morning. Busy programme coming up on the show today. If you're one of the many thousands caring for a loved one at home, a new online course for carers is offering some helpful tips and supports. We'll have all the details on that for you. And also, is there a Machra club in your area? Well, if not, we'll be hearing what you can do to get one up and running in your local region. But first, let's go to that news that's affecting so many of us across the region this morning. And it is, of course, Storm Éowyn. Now, a major clean-up operation is underway across the country after the storm caused widespread destruction and disruption. It brought record-breaking gusts of 183 kilometres per hour, and the damage is still being assessed around the region. Temperatures dropped to below freezing in some areas overnight with falls of snow and sleet. The National Emergency Coordination Group is due to meet this afternoon, and Met Éireann has warned that more strong winds are forecast for tomorrow. Well, let's hear how the region has been affected. For the latest this morning, I should be joined now by Cathaoirleach of Offaly County Council. That's Councillor Audrey Hennessy Kennedy in Birr. Good morning, Councillor.
Good morning, Sally Ann. How are you?
Well, not too bad and better than a lot of people, I take it. Can you give us an update, Councillor Kennedy, about what the situation is right now in your own county?
Well, in the county at the minute, there's still outages in the Edenderry Road area. Tullamore, there's a lot of the main faults have been repaired. There is some local issues. In the Birr area, there's still outages in Cadamstown, Kinnity, and over in the Five Valley and in the Banagher region, just at Taylor's Cross. We are hoping and making sure that they will be restored, hopefully today. We are still trying to wait in contact back from the ESB networks in relation to that. But the water and power has been restored in most areas. So I'd just like to thank Ishgairn for supplying the pumps at the water stations, and I know that there's some areas that didn't, that there wasn't pumps at, like in Kinnity Village, but there is a water tanker in place in the centre of the village, and because of the impact in the power outage in that area is affecting the pump at the pump station there. But look, at everything else, it seems to be going as best we can. The council workers did great work yesterday in clearing all the roads, but they are working again today on any roadways that they had to close yesterday. They're up first thing this morning and out clearing them roads again. So it has been an overall a great collaborative engagement with everybody, with the Offaly Civic Defence, Offaly Fire and Rescue, and the Gardaí, ESB and Ishgairn, and the HSE as well. It's just been a great, everybody has really come together and worked really hard over the last number of days.
And Councillor, I noticed myself driving over to the studios in Tullamore this morning. Offaly County Council have posted on their Twitter about the driving conditions across the county this morning. Very difficult in some areas there due to snow, icy conditions. The winter service crews for the council are out, but they're asking people to adjust driving to suit road and weather. And I would say as well, especially look out for low-lying sun. It's making it very difficult there this morning. Absolutely.
Our council workers were out again late or early morning and yesterday evening gritting the roads as part of the winter service programme. And as we all know, this morning when we got up, the place covered in frost. And of course, with the extra debris that would be on the roads from trees and all that, it makes the driving conditions very, very difficult at times. And as you said yourself, the low sun is another factor. And I suppose that leads to just for motorists just to take care on the roads, and especially, there's still a lot of traffic lights out in towns and villages and that. So, when you're approaching the junctions that traffic lights are on, of course, everybody wants to get out onto the road as quick as possible. And they are all just just trying to pull out. So we try our best. We have that noted, and we're trying to get somebody in to fix them issues as soon as possible.
OK, great. Thank you so much for that update. That is Cathaoirleach of Offaly County Council, Councillor Audrey Hennessy Kennedy there in Birr, speaking to us this morning. Let's move to Laois now. If you're living in that region, I'm sure you'll want an update this morning on what the situation is there. Is there help on hand? Are things about to get better? Councillor Paddy Buggy in Portlaoise, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Well, not too bad. We heard there from Councillor Kennedy that, the crews have been responding very quickly to the situations that developed there in Offaly. What's the situation in Laois this morning?
Well, listen, all the crews are out again today working hard. I suppose Laois had set up a command centre yesterday, and those staff on board from 4 o'clock yesterday morning and taking calls from people and identifying where the problem areas were, and then putting the appropriate crews out to work on those issues. Now, we had great work done by both council staff, by subcontractors, by the ESB networks and telecoms companies. But listen, there's still a few problems around the area. Water is a big issue, particularly in the Mount Mellick area. And so they're working on that. I think there'll be, the latest update I have from Irish Water is there'll be this disruption in the Mount Mellick area until about 4 o'clock today. Trees, of course, was the biggest issue, bringing down lines and blocking roads. A lot of people were out of power yesterday, but some of that's back, but it's not back everywhere yet. And in fairness, like to ESB networks, when there was never over 700,000 homes affected or businesses affected before. Normally there'd be isolated areas that would be knocked out, but this storm took the whole country out effectively. So crews have to stay local to try and work on local issues. They're not able to send crews from one area of the country to the other. So there is going to be difficulty with electricity, I'd say, for the next few days in different areas. Now, I was fortunate. Our electricity went out yesterday, but it came back around 7:30 last night. But there are still people in locality who don't have it, so it is an issue. But listen, everyone's doing the best they can. You can only work when it's safe to work too, and in daylight. And I have to say, thank God for everyone who rose to the occasion. Listen, we're not there yet, but we're going in the right direction.
We are, indeed. And as you said, it is very much unprecedented, Councillor Buggy. I suppose an appeal as well, in situations where people are without electricity, especially, to look out for those vulnerable, maybe elderly neighbours.
If they could, that'd be great. And in fairness, people do rise to the occasion, because they know themselves they might have a parent or an aunt or an uncle or something living remotely, and they're checking in on them. And that's great, and we want to encourage as much of that as possible. And I'll be honest with you, I feel sorry for all those people with the modern houses that have only electricity in them. They can't even light a fire to heat themselves. And that's something we're going to have to look at, I think, going forward. It's great to say that we have these energy-rated houses all on electricity, but when you get extreme weather conditions like this, it's nice to be able to put on a few sads of turf and heat the house, And those bureaucrats in Dublin who insisted on this, they have a lot to answer for now, because people have to pay big money for houses and they can't even heat themselves when there's a situation like this,
Yeah, certainly a discussion that will have to be had. Councillor Paddy Buggy there in Portlaoise, many thanks for that update on County Laois and what's happening there this morning. Let's go now for our listeners that are in County Westmeath. Let's go to Athlone, where Councillor John Dolan should be on the line. Good morning, Councillor.
Hello, Sally-Ann, how are you?
Not too bad. Could you give us an update on what's happening in Westmeath and the response there this morning?
Yeah, I suppose, look at more than any other county, it's very similar. An awful lot of trees down, long list. My phone has been busy enough here, like I say, all public reps, and in fairness now, the council have been very active. They're out clearing the trees as fast as they can. I suppose DSB is a major problem, like what was previously said there. Is probably the first time I'd say ever that has been a nationwide problem where you can't bring crews from other parts of the country. The local crews have to try and fix it. Now, I know I seen crews out last night now near my own local village of Balnaown here. I seen them out last night there trying to fix. That village is gone, and like a number of places is gone. But I know, thankfully, I don't know what sort of a line we were on, but we haven't lost power at all. But I know some of my neighbours have. So whatever way the lines are working, that seems to be the way it is.
Yeah, and for those who have lost ESB, you know, as Councillor Buggy mentioned there in Portlaoise, it's the heating element of it as well with these sub-zero temperatures now that we're experiencing.
It is, and he made a very good point, I suppose, with the modern house. I know I have a daughter as a one of those houses, and they have no heat at the moment and no way of heating, and now that actually have a stove in it. It was one of the last houses that got that permission, but I suppose it needs to be relooked at here again, I think, really. If these extreme weather events are going to be happening, like we're told they're going to, I think we have to have some alternative that you have there that you can use for these times. I suppose the one thing I'd say is that people may look out for their neighbours, and I suppose even I'll just give it a little local example here in Castlelly. The hall has power, so we put it out there to anyone that wants to go in and charge their phone. We've leaving the hall open during the day here today, or a boiler kettle or anything like that. I suppose local things like that make a big difference to people. I suppose we don't realise. I suppose we had the 3 network was down yesterday, the 4 network. And there was both 3s down, and the 3 network was down here yesterday. So I suppose that seems to be coming back now. But I suppose that even had a lady on to me this morning, she couldn't even make a phone call to ring anyone because she had no coverage, she had no network. So I suppose that's bit by bit that's starting to come back. But I suppose it's a matter of maybe more. It's easy to say be patient, man. It's very hard. But I suppose in fairness to the people that are out there, I suppose they're leaving the safety of their home to go out and try and get us sorted out. And I suppose we take a lot of these things for granted, that we would flick a switch and we have light straight away. Mm-hmm. I suppose, it just brings it all home that how vulnerable the whole thing is.
It does, that is for sure. Councillor John Dolan in Athlone for Westmeath County Council there. Thank you for giving us...
Sorry, Anne-Marie, if I could just maybe give you the number. There's an emergency number for anyone that wants to contact the council there in Westmeath. It's 044 933 2000. That's 044 933 2000.
Okay, perfect.
Just if you have any issues to report or anything like that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Councillor John Dolan there in Athlone. Well, there you go. That is the latest situation across Laois, Offaly and Westmeath this morning. In terms of Uisce Éireann, nationally, they've put out the following information, that there was 217,000 people without water and 300,000 more customers at risk. 400,000 customers are being supplied by plants on generators, but at plants where the power is out, it's not possible, and it's a dynamic situation that will be changing throughout the course of the day. In terms of the ESB, the latest numbers this morning, over 500,000 customers were still out, but the crews are out from dawn this morning, so they are working away and trying to do their best. And be careful out there as well in terms of fallen trees. If you have phone signal, hopefully it's coming back a bit better today. I know myself, I couldn't even get onto ESB Power Check website to log the fault in my own area. We're still without power. But if you can, make sure that your fault is logged. And if you come across anything, do please contact your local services to let them know of that. If you have any information you'd like to pass on here this morning, you can do so by calling us now, 0818 300 103. And you can text or WhatsApp us here on Saturday View this morning, 083 30 10 103, where we will bring any information to you that we receive. Right now, though, it is 2 degrees in Portlaoise. Let's take a break.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumclune Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcluneEnergy.com.
Welcome back to the Saturday View here on Midlands 103 with me, Sally-Ann Barrett. If you want to get in contact with the programme, those numbers again, you can call us on 0818 300 103, or indeed you can text or WhatsApp any comment or information in relation to the storm cleanup, any damage or any information you'd like to share with our listeners this morning on 083 30 10 103. Now, 19 million, that is the number of unpaid hours per week provided by family carers right across the country. You may be one of those providing some of those hours to a loved one in the Midlands this morning, or indeed know someone who is among the estimated 500,000 family carers in Ireland. Now, a new course available to family carers in the Midlands aims to provide some key information and vital supports to those who find themselves in a caring role. And I thought this morning it might be a good idea to find out a little bit more about what's available in terms of that course. So I'm delighted to be joined on the programme by Catherine Cox, who's Head of Communications and Policy with Family Carers Ireland. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Sally Ann.
We'll get to the course now in just one moment, but I suppose in terms of Storm Éowyn and the damage that has caused, I mean, family carers and the loved ones they are providing care for, especially vulnerable in terms of these kind of developments. Have you been hearing, Catherine, how people who come to your organisation for support, how they're coping without electricity, water, etc.?
Well, look, we have been keeping in constant contact with carers across the country, and we ourselves actually go into some of those families providing respite. We have home care workers, so it is very difficult. But look, thankfully, carers, I suppose they're very resilient anyway as people, so they've been, I suppose, getting on with it to a degree. We've been able to obviously keep communications open via the phone, online as well. And thankfully, our workers were able to go in most parts of the country, and where we weren't, family members in some cases were able to step in. In other cases, other state like the HSE, and that stepped in as well. So look, we've been keeping that contact open, and as I said, they tend to be fighters and resilient and get on with it. But it is very difficult. It's very difficult for everybody, but particularly maybe for older people, people living in rural areas as well. I'm in Carlow myself, and we had no electricity yesterday morning, which is fine for somebody like me. But if you're caring for somebody and depending on electricity for those care needs, now thankfully the ESB do have customers that they are considered vulnerable customers, and they do everything their utmost to keep their electricity going. So thankfully that didn't impact on family carers that we were talking to anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Worth noting for people if they're listening this morning, you can register if you're caring for a loved one or have somebody who it's essential for them to have access to electricity, whether it be for medical equipment, etc. You can register that with the ESB so they know when they're prioritising what areas that they need to work on, that there's a certain number of vulnerable people in that area.
Yeah.
Catherine, let's move to this online course that is starting. It's starting Friday the 31st of January. Now, I saw at Lone Family Resource Centre we're sharing details of this. It's happening nationwide. It's called Caring with Confidence. Can you tell people a little bit about it and who it may be suitable for?
Yeah, so we've been actually running Caring with Confidence probably for almost 20 years, this course. And it is aimed specifically at family carers, whether they're caring for a child, adult or an older person. And it has a number of modules. We cover things like patient moving and handling, which is obviously very important for somebody who's providing personal care and lifting somebody or moving them. So that's one of the modules. It also goes into rights and entitlements for family carers. So when somebody becomes a family carer, at first, they probably have no knowledge of what they're entitled to, whether that's services, financial support. So there's a module there around that. It also has a module on first aid, and then a really important one on self-care practices. And we know family carers, because they care for somebody else, and in some cases they're caring for more than one person, they tend to ignore their own health needs. So this is very much about the carer looking at their own health and not ignoring signs of ill health. And they can be things like maybe low energy, maybe not being able to say no, feeling maybe anger at their situation at times and then feeling guilty. So it's really about exploring the carer's own health and well-being, because if they're not well in themselves, it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to look after somebody else. So there's some of the modules within the course, but it is for family carers. It's free to family carers, and they don't need previous qualifications. They're bringing their life experience, their skills to those courses. And as you said, they can do them online, but we will have in-person courses as well. We also have e-learning courses. So for a carer who maybe cannot do it during the day or evening, they can do that at night time when it suits them. So there's lots there, and I would absolutely encourage all family carers to have a look at our website, which is www.familycarers.ie, and have a look at those courses. It's under training and education. And I guarantee there's something there for everybody.
I suppose the reality for a lot of people, Catherine, is they end up finding themselves in a caring role completely unexpected due to maybe a family situation that develops that they couldn't foresee. So courses like this, it's a good way to maybe reach out socially as well as fundamentally learn skills too.
It is, absolutely. And you're right. Quite often a caring role can come somebody literally overnight. A loved one is in an accident, maybe has a stroke, or a child is born with a disability, and suddenly that family their whole world is turned upside down. And for us, what's really important is that those families, those carers know that we are here, Family Carers Ireland, we are here. So we can't take away those diagnoses, we can't change that, but what we can do is support family carers through those really, really difficult times. And for us, we would love if carers came to us as early in their caring journey as possible. That way we can support them and hopefully prevent them getting to stages of burnout. So the sooner, and even if somebody's out there and they think, maybe their mum and dad are living with them and they can see into the future there may be care needs as they age, please reach out to Family Carers Ireland. And, we have a centre there in Tullamore and Market Square. We have an incredible manager, Beth Wogan, and she's there to help and to listen, really important to listen. And she'll take people through rights and entitlement if they're applying for carers allowance, carers benefit, which can be really, really daunting. She's there to support them do that and just to make that a little bit easier. So reach out. We also have a free phone care line for maybe carers who are not online, not looking at their laptops. So free phone care line is 1-800 24 07 24, and we have volunteers and workers there who again are happy to listen and support any way that we can.
Now, you mentioned in terms of rights of entitlements, and I know that's one of the segments that's dealt with comprehensively on the online course that we're talking about, Catherine. I suppose, like you mentioned, financial support is key for carers and a serious issue of concern. We see now the new government has been put in place. We saw their programme for government that came out the week before. That commitment to phase out the means test for the carers allowance, welcome, but still at the same time very vague, I suppose, no definite timeline on that. I mean, as an organisation, how does Family Carers Ireland feel about this new administration? What will it mean for the caring community?
Yes, look, we have been calling for the means test to be abolished for over 25 years. It is unfair, outdated, it discriminates against women in particular, of whom the vast majority of women are family carers. So we absolutely welcome the fact that for the first time ever, a government has committed to abolishing the means test. So that's the first thing I'll say. We absolutely welcome that. But you're right, the timeline, and it is quite vague in terms of the language. We had asked last year that the means test be abolished. We recognise and realise it wouldn't be done overnight. We would estimate the cost of abolishing the means test is about €390 million per year. But go back to what we said at the very start of the piece. Carers provide 19 million hours of care every week. Carers save our state €20 billion every single year. So this is absolutely worth it to keep carers caring and to support them financially. But we recognise it is a cost, and we recognise it would take up to 3 years, we envisaged. So obviously the life of the government is 5 years. So we want to see this happen in the first year, in the second year, and in the third year of this programme for government. And we want to see that timeline put in place. And we do acknowledge that in particular Minister Heather Humphreys in the last 3 years has increased income disregard. So more carers are coming in to that net. But be very clear, we want the means test abolished. We want what we call a participation income for family carers that will recognise and value the work that they do. And that payment has to be adequate. And that's really important. At the moment, carers allowance, it will be €260 per week in July. But €260 per week is not enough for a carer to provide full-time care for loved ones with those additional costs of caring. And go back to COVID and, they set the PUP payment at $350 per week because they acknowledged people couldn't live on less. yet they expect carers to live on 260 per week, and that's only the ones who get carers allowance. So we want it abolished, but we want a clear timeline, and we want to see this done as a matter of urgency.
Just a reminder to people, Catherine, this Caring with Confidence course, it's starting online on Friday the 31st of January. It's on between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. every Friday via online sessions, which is great because if you have a commitment, you don't have to be leaving your house and worrying about getting somebody in to cover you or anything. So if you do want more information, you can go to the Family Carers Ireland website. Finally, Catherine, you know, we're trying to speak directly maybe to carers that are delivering care this morning, but also if there's anybody out there that's listening that is a friend or a sibling of someone who's delivering care, they can of course reach out on their behalf too.
Absolutely, and we will take referrals and we will chat with anybody, and that's really, really important. And I would say that another thing as well, in Tullamore at the moment, I mentioned Beth, our local manager. She is trying to bring together a group of male carers for support group, and quite often male carers don't tend to reach out. So if there are men out there who are family carers, or it's in, maybe you know of a brother, your brother, your cousin, whoever who's a family carer is a male, please do try and encourage them to reach out as well. Because whilst majority of carers are women, it is still about 62% female, but there are 38% of men caring. So really important that we get them engaged as well. So so I'd encourage anyone to reach out. And as I said, our free phone care line, if people want to reach out, 1-800 24 07 24. And the other thing is we are going to be out in Lidl stores all over the country over the next few weeks. We're delighted. We've just Lidl have just come on board as our charity partner for the next few years. So family carers, families will see it in the Lidl stores. Please come over to us, chat to us, because quite often when a carer becomes a carer, they may not self-identify as a carer. Mm-hmm. They see themselves as a mum, as a dad, as a son, as a daughter, but they are also a family carer. And by self-identifying and looking for supports, then at least they have somebody who can help them in that journey. And that's what Family Carers Ireland are here for.
All right. Catherine Cox, Head of Communications and Policy with Family Carers Ireland. Thank you for joining us on Saturday View there this morning. So there you go. Lots of information for you to take in. After the break, we are going to hearing about what it takes if you want to set up a local MACRA organisation in your area.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumclume Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumclumeEnergy.com.
Welcome back to the Saturday View, here with me, Sally Ann Barrett, this morning sitting in for Ronan Berry. And in case I forget to say it, do join us for a very special St. Bridget's Day show next weekend. We'll have a lot of things lined up for you, so you won't want to miss that one. We have had some contact from some of our listeners on our text and WhatsApp lines on 083 30 10 103. Ray there in Mullingar has been in touch to let us know that the council workers are working hard with chainsaws, etc., to clear any damage and trees down in that area. But he's warning listeners, do be careful at the Ardmore roundabout credit union. Most shops are open okay in Mullingar, but do be careful there. And if you have any more info, please do get in contact. Now, coming towards the end of the show, but quickly, I do want to let you know about our next item, because since 1944, MACRA na Firma has been providing a social outlet for young people living in rural Ireland. And now the search is on for the next generation of members as the organisation looks to expand its membership right across the Midlands. But what does it have to offer? Well, to tell us a little bit more about that this morning, I'm delighted to be joined by Paddy Jordan, who is Leinster Vice President of MACRA. Good morning, Paddy.
And good morning to you. And how are you this fine morning? Well, I hope you didn't go away in the storm.
I did not. We're not too bad. We're holding on. We've no electricity, but we've water, so we'll cope. We'll get through it.
You'll cope as best you can.
We will. And as is everybody else. Paddy, tell us, you're on the search for new MACRA clubs to get up and running in the region. What does it have to offer as an organisation, and how can people, if they're interested in doing and setting up a club in their own area, get involved?
Yes, well, thank you very much for inviting me on the programme here this morning, Sally Ann. Well, obviously, you know, in terms of what MACRA na Firma can provide young people between the ages of 17 to 35, is there something in MACRA for everyone, whether it's performing arts, whether it's sport, whether it's public speaking, nights out, and just all around great fun. And I think Sally-Anne, as a broadcaster covering a rural demographic like the counties of Laois, Offaly, and indeed Westmeath, that it is often the case in these rural locations that sport is the only outlet. And I suppose Macra na Farma is really, a place where people of all ilks and people who might not be as interested in sport but can get involved and meet like-minded people. I suppose to answer your question of how one may go to start a club, that's certainly music to my ears as Leinster Vice President. And you can do this by many ways, by contacting the many great training and development officers we have, and their details are on the Macra website, www.macra.ie, in terms of how you could join in either Laois, Offaly, or indeed Westmeath. On social media, particularly on Instagram, or again, you can join on our website.
And as you mentioned there, Paddy, I suppose for those of us that aren't particularly sporting minded, I mean, the GAA is a brilliant organisation and does so much for rural areas. But Macra does have something to offer. I know in my own locality, I have fond memories of many dramas being staged by local Macra groups. I mean, it's a huge social outlet.
It's an absolutely huge social outlet, and certainly certainly a former president, a national president of ours, James Healy, once proclaimed that Macra is indeed better than Tinder. There's a lot of I'm sure, I'm under no doubt there's a lot of couples listening in here this morning, Sally-Anne, who met their significant other.
Well, that's interesting. So there's a lot of matches been made via Macra.
Oh, 100%, and I'm sure there's a lot of Macra babies listening to this program as well. Certainly, it's the place to meet your life partner. I haven't met mine yet, but I'm sure she's just around the corner.
Well, that's it. Sure, it's never too late. It's never too late. And in terms of starting up a new club, Paddy, 10 people to get started. That's all you need. If you can talk some friends, family, friends, neighbours, work colleagues, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yes, well, in terms of how you would start a club, as I outlined previously, as Leinster Vice President, that most certainly would be music to my ears. You can obviously make contact with myself at leinstervp@macra.ie. You can, as I outlined, you can talk to your training and development officer. All their contact details are available on www.macra.ie, or even touch base through the realms of social media. I know Laois and Offaly Macra are very active on Instagram. Send them a message, tell them you'd like to set up a new club, and take it from there. And I can assure you they would be quite responsive.
And, in terms of that age group, 17 to 35, they are a group that really, there has to be a lot of emphasis put on targeting to socially engage, Paddy, because we can all be so guilty of being stuck in our phones.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think there can be, whether in a work context, whether in a social context like Macra, I don't think there. If you want to build relationships and build your skills, I don't think there can be any substitute to a social interaction. And I think although a lot has changed over the past 8 decades since the foundation of this great organisation, Macra na Farma, social interaction is still key, and social interaction is still very much an integral part of what we do.
Absolutely. Well, Paddy, thank you so much for joining us on the programme this morning to tell us about all that is involved in setting up one of those local Macra na Farma groups there. Paddy Jordan there speaking to us as Leinster Vice President of Macra. And as Paddy mentioned, if you want more information, you can go on to macra.ie. But that is indeed the end of our programme on Saturday View this morning. My thanks to Nellie, who was taking your calls, and to all who got in contact with the programme this morning. Plenty of messages coming in. Good morning. Well done to all for getting things sorted after that awful storm. The ESB, Offaly County Council, Water Services, the Medical Community Emergency Services. A job well done by all. That comes in from Noel in Moystown, and so say all of us, Noel. OK, we're heading to news at the top of the hour. Stay with us here on Midlands 103, and we'll be back for another programme, a St Bridget's Day special next weekend.